Okay, so our EP this week is Husbandry's new EP known as
Bad Weeds Never Die.
Bad Weeds Never Die. And it's I believe their second EP, and they already had an album called Farah. I bet this is the third EP, and that was just a really long album. I don't know. Either way, this was released on December 2nd, 1st?
Something like that.
And it came with a 120-page art book, as did Farah came with a 140-page art book. So this
I guess they like art?
Yes, this featured a lot of famous artists who do exquisite corpse-style art. But anyway, so on to the first song of this EP, which is Elder Spencer Deary.
Okay. Elder Spencer Perry. I can't
Deary,
make
I think it was.
Deary. Sorry, not Perry. My handwriting is bad. I can't make a comment about this because you can't make a pun off that title.
Yeah. So, Husbandry, let's talk about them. They're a little bit like prog, they're a little bit like hardcore-ish, a little bit alt. Yeah, they're all of it.
I would call it like prog alt metal.
Prog alt metal? I can agree with that.
That's if I had to put a genre on them from just listening to this EP.
And in true prog roughy sort of style, it starts with, this sort of like mind control-y, sort of you being manipulated audio recordings of like baptisms and all kind of whatnot. And the way it starts with this sort of this very sort of bouncy, aggressive riff and this sort of propaganda-ish sort of audio, I was like, this starts off sounding like it's about to bust out into a Rage Against the Machine song.
Yeah, and once you mention that, I'm like, yeah, 100%. Yeah, like, because it's this, I love the riff it starts with. It's very simple. It's just like,
yeah, no, the verse heavy guitar riff, it has so much movement in it, and it's so like bouncy. It's got so much energy to it,
and that's a theme I think throughout the whole
these guys
album
have
is that there's just so many notes.
Yeah, this is a very aggressive album with lots of movement and lots of sound. So to move on to the sort of chorus sort of thing, the chorus is a call and response. So this band has a clean female singer. Her name's Karina. And they also have a screamer, and on this song, the chorus has the sort of call and response between the two.
She's singing a thing, and then there's the screaming, but it's kind of like layered, so it sounds like it's a group shouting back at her.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely, there are effects on the vocals in this. There's lots of layering.
Too many effects, in my opinion.
Yes, except in the later songs, there's some stuff that's mixed a lot more cleanly. But all in all, this is very reverby. It's very full of delay. It's got a lot going on because it's proggy. So that's what it is. Then about halfway through the song, it gets this like sort of new riff, this new melody that sort of just breaks up. I would say, whereas in a normal song, it would be like a bridge that flows together with the whole thing. This has this like just breakup section in the middle where it's like this is a completely different riff.
Yeah, are you talking about where it stops and it's just like quiet for a second and then like the heavy riff comes back in?
Yes, it returns to that sort of chorus, sort of heavy riff thing that was going on. But at 2:45, the whole song changes. Like the word heavy is not even in the same universe.
Yeah, I like it changes to almost I thought kind of childish, like a mobile going around playing
it's
music.
Got that sort of music box sound. I didn't think of describing it that way. I was like, it has these sort of like pop light dingy synths, and it's very music boxy. You're right,
and is kind of positive sounding almost.
It's very sweet, and I said it's very almost sort of poppy by comparison. It's much more melodic. It's much more on the rhythm, on the beat, on a simple beat. Much more just gently sung. Her voice, it was interesting. We both thought the same thing.
Yeah, I thought it more during the next song, but she sounds like a little like Hayley Williams from Paramore. Now, don't think we think this band sounds like Paramore. Yeah, just the way, like, and it's not all the time. Like she sounds like a more mature, like, fuller voice.
She definitely, I will say that Karina has the most, like, she has a full, beautiful voice.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because like, a lot of times she has a lot of vibrato, and she's, like, I made this note in a later song, she does a little, like, quarter tone trills a lot, like, sort of business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's what's interesting, we were talking about vocals. In the outro, there's this big, epic, layered vocal sound. This is sort of big, speaking of these sort of, like, trills, it's got this epic sort of Arabic-y rhythm, sort of epic movie score where everyone's layered 10,000 times sound in the outro of this song.
It's like a choir.
Interspersed with that bridgy, it goes back to that bridgy sort of like pop.
Yeah, and it's kind of jarring, and it's like,
Whoa, prog is jarring?
It bothers me so much. I don't like prog in general.
So what you're saying is, prog to you is like an Urbi Amalia Nunca Muere? It's a bad weed that never dies.
Yerba mala nunca muere.
Okay. Gotta get all fancy with it. So,
I took a Spanish class once.
Yes, so the EP is called Bad Weeds Never Die. This song is Bad Weeds Never Die in Spanish.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why the switch up, but I'm sure they have their artistic reasons. Anyway, it starts with this sort of pedal riff, this sort of like very fast movement. Like, they have a lot of skill, and it's very clear in their riffs here. I've heard lots of people compliment it on their other albums, their riffs. I was looking this up earlier. And this just starts off with this very sort of envelope filtered low, and then it comes high, this pedal riff thing that's really good.
But the thing is, just this, there's that riff with that's all the skill riff, but the riff I remember from the song is the do 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 do.
It's the easy one.
It's the simple riff.
Yes,
because,
so the riff under the chorus. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mentioned that one is very much more groovy.
Yeah, and that one's like it's nice because it's got what a lot of good riffs have, which is a little bit of silence in it. It's got the do do.
It's got room to breathe.
Do. There's some pause there.
I think this song is the best on this particular EP that demonstrates the sort of juxtaposition, really. Each part of the song is made better by the fact that one is very fast with a lot of notes, and one is very slow and very much more sort of groovy. And I think that's what makes this song like a better song on this EP than some others. It's really interesting. The chorus, the vocal during this one, I remember discussing with you. You have a problem with because there's that thing that we hate, that you hate.
Well, I'm like that. I hate, which is like a radio filter.
Yeah, the filter over the voice, so it sounds like there's a bit of fuzz or a bit of like tube warmth on the voice.
Yeah, because personally, I prefer vocals that are very dry and forwardly mixed, and like where it's just like it sounds like it's just them singing into your ear, and
which doesn't happen like ever.
Yeah, and I dislike having a lot of filters.
I love it, though. I think her voice sounds great, and I think that
her voice itself sounds great.
Yeah, well, I think it sounds good with this filter on it in this song, because it gives this song much more sort of... It throws a little dirt on it, as it were. It gets a little stank in there, and I really like that. I appreciate it, personally. Which is why it's interesting. During the chorus, which, like I said, is much more slow and groovy. I almost said grow and sloovy. The male and female vocals are very layered. Like, the guy screaming and her singing are very, very, very layered into this sort of... I don't know, chant or group thing, but it's like so reverby and echoey that it's choral. I don't know how to think about it.
I'm not a huge fan of that.
No, I did not think that I think
because it's too there's too much reverb on it, and it sounds like there's just a group of people like kind of singing aimlessly in a cave.
Yes, I will say that while the chorus riff and the chorus drums were great on this one, I think the vocal was not bad, but certainly weaker. I would say. Well,
it's like. In every instance, I think, where there's, like, group singing, it felt a lot weaker to me than when it's just her. Or when it's just her, or just the dude screaming.
I will say, yes, they both have very powerful voices individually. The scream is a good, clear scream with excellent, like, support. And her singing is wonderfully beautiful. Like, she absolutely... She must be a trained singer. If she's self-trained, that's incredible. But then the whole song kind of lets the guitar sing for a minute at about a minute 45, minute 50 in.
It's this metalcore solo.
Yeah, it's what we call a metalcore solo, or it's a melodic lead. It's like I said, I think it's just them saying, "Oh, the guitar is singing now."
Yeah, where it's just a very reverby, trebly lead.
Where it's just this sort of slow, resonant, echoey, melodic theme.
It's a metalcore solo.
Yeah, it's very gentle, and it's like compared to like the very layered vocals or her very powerful forward vocal. It's a chance, I think, kind of for the song to relax. It's very smooth and gentle as opposed to all the very powerful.
Yeah, it's not as complicated as the rest of the song.
Oh, certainly not. And after, for a second, there's this new groovy sort of riff that both of us were just like...
Well, because, it's a slowed down version of one of the previous riffs. And so, yeah, we're like, oh my gosh, this is slowed down enough that I can understand it now. Because I guess I'm just kind of slow and don't understand prog music. I don't know. And so, yeah, we both like go... And
then it immediately changes. And the guitar...
Yeah, after like 7 seconds, like, not even kidding.
Then we get into the bridge, which is really weird. It starts at about like 2 minutes, 20 seconds in. And... So, it's interesting. The vocals go much for this sort of haunting reverb, like, ooh, sort of vocal. It's very sort of echoey and distant and minor and spoopy. And the guitar is rockabilly. Seriously, it's got that slapback reverb on it. It's it's jangly. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It's just a completely different tone than anything else in the whole EP, and just sounds completely out of place to me, and I don't get it at all. And I think it was just a weird choice.
Yeah, this section of the song was really unexpected to me, which I guess it's not inherently a bad thing. It just felt kind of like, I'm going to use the word jarring a lot. It's just kind of like, from what the rest of the song has led me to expect, it just kind of made me go, what was that?
Well, yeah, that's the thing is, because of the prog-ish nature of this, because I think their labels were like metal, prog, post-hardcore. They even had some punk labels and stuff. I don't really get
why they said it was punk at all. This was really not all punk, in my opinion.
Well, just because the fact is, you can never trust anyone else, much less trust a cuckold.
Never trust a cuckold. What'd you think?
This is a excellent song. This is just fantastic.
I like this song a lot too. One little problem I had with it is it just kind of starts.
Okay, so
it just kind of like boom right out the gate.
Yeah, I would say this song starts in medias res. It's like we were supposed to be listening to half a riff before it started, and then you just appeared in the middle of it. So you're kind of like, oh, okay, the song is here. The song is here.
Yeah, like, and the vocals start like 2 seconds in.
Yeah,
and
when we listened to it multiple times, repeatedly, I was like, is that really the beginning? Can you just go back? Okay, I guess it is. And it's really interesting. This song, the vocals, then this one is one of the first ones where we really get a nice clean guitar tone. Mm-hmm. We have them doing this very sort of melodic, harpish.
Yeah, and it's very not, like, I think the previous 2 songs, like, most of the time were filling a lot of, they were very noisy, I felt like. Mm-hmm. And just, there was a lot of sound going on. And if you sat and listened to it, like, you could pick out the individual parts, but there's just, it could be kind of overwhelming at times.
Oh, absolutely.
And, like, the beginning of this song gives you a little bit of a break from that.
Oh, this song, I would say, is the most normally structured song. It's very much in the style of verse, chorus, bridge, done. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that. But, of course, they have to go proggy with it. So I think the vocals, because the guitar was so, like, light by comparison, and there wasn't that much synth at the beginning, that was taking up a lot of sonic space, the vocal felt so forward.
Mm-hmm. And I like that a lot. Like, you get the chance to really hear her sing.
Oh, yeah, and like I said, this song will make you fall in love with her voice, I think, if nothing else. She has an amazing voice. Then, during the pre-chorusy time, the screamer guy also sings. They sing together, and it's actually this really beautiful harmony.
Yeah, and it's instead of being like an overwhelming too many voices, too much reverb sort of choral thing, it's like, it just sounds like 3 or 4 voices.
Yeah, it just sounds like a nice little choiry group. It just sounds like people singing together. It was really pleasant. It didn't, like I said, it wasn't reverby or echoey or anything.
Yeah,
it was really nice.
Just sounds like people singing. And then the chorus of the song is it's the most memorable chorus of the album.
Oh, I said it's the most easily chantable. Like, if when their audience plays, which we just missed them by like 2 months or something, really? A month, we just missed seeing them. And I was really upset about that. But, yeah, this is the most chantable chorus.
Yeah.
Like, surrender just before the bell rings. It's just it's awesome. It makes you feel pumped up. And
I thought it was almost like that part was almost kind of alternative, almost grungy in a way.
Oh, yeah, like, definitely.
It had kind of a sad, lethargic, but still.
Well, that's what made me think of when I heard her voice as being a better Hayley Williams sort of thing. Better, more soulful, whatever you want to call it. I was like, man, this sort of heavy, dark guitar thing is, where Hayley Williams should have gone. No, but it works so nice. Her voice works so well over this music because she just has that sort of sad, lilting, soulful tone. And so the heavy guitars come in during the chorus section, and then they remain for the remainder of the song. So that sort of like harpy sort of earlier riff, it's still there in the verse again. It's just now it's got distortion on it.
And it goes back into what the rest of the songs had in that kind of noisy place, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's what they're going. It's what they're going for.
Lots of sound.
Yeah.
It's very overwhelming at times.
Which, like I said, which is why I would say this song is great, but because it doesn't go back to that clean, the juxtaposition that we saw in like some earlier songs, it isn't really there as much, so this song, it kind of loses that impact between the two. That being said, I like this song a lot, but it's interesting, the last verse goes for something entirely different. Again, just like how the other one had the sort of rockabilly guitar, this one has this one has this interesting sort of, I'm not thinking of the right word, jangly, weird, trebly, janky sort of tone to it. It's very fast and it moves a lot. It's really sort of confused and like, I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying?
Not really.
I definitely feel like the end, like the outro definitely had this weird new guitar bit.
The outro was weird. I noticed it more in the bass for whatever reason. Yeah. I was just listening to the bass more, and it had a ton of movement. I'm like, what is this bass line? It's like, and then it had this really strange tone for like a few seconds. Yeah, where it was like really like flat, and by flat I don't mean pitch wise. I mean just. It was just a very strange tone that the bass had going on.
You'll just have to listen to it.
I thought almost that it might have been a synth on top of the bass.
Giving a very sort of like fuzzy sort of like tone.
Yeah, like a digital sort of wideness. It's just very strange.
Okay. Speaking of very strange, the longest song on the album is a cover, and it's our next song, Miseries A Butterfly.
Misery is a Butterfly. Did it make you miserable?
No. This was excellent. So, Misery is a Butterfly is a song by, who's it?
Blonde Redhead.
Blonde Redhead, which they're sort of alt-rock, noise rock, new psychedelia, something. They have a lot of alty terms to describe them.
They're alt-rock.
Yeah. And we've heard the original of this before. We looked it up and listened to it so we could have a comparison. And it's a 5-minute...
if we're getting straight to the point, I think this version's better.
Infinitely. Yeah. Way better. So
I was gonna say, because like when I was listening to the original, I thought it was just kind of boring.
It's this
very
long,
trebly,
5-minute,
like, and her voice is kind of, you know, like kind of wispy, warbly.
Yeah, it's definitely the kind of song you can fall asleep to. This, on the other hand, demands your attention.
Yeah.
So it starts off very much the same way, where it's got that gentle sort of guitar, even though it's slightly driven. Which is the other one is a clean or an acoustic or something. I'm not sure, but this starts with slightly driven, and her voice is just so much more powerful. That is what this song is meant to have.
Yeah, it's like in comparison to the original band, like her voice is way stronger than.
Well, and it's got like a sass or an anger or a sadness to it that just twists the words so they're all the more meaningful. Mm-hmm. And I love that about this so much because her voice with the driven guitar, so when we get into the chorus finally, and it gives the whole song that sort of like heavy guitar undertone that the original never had.
What I was gonna say is that initially for like the first 2 minutes or so,
I thought it was gonna be the same.
Yeah, I thought. I'm like, this song is way simpler than all the rest of the songs on this EP, and it's weird, doesn't really kind of fit. But then when the guitars like actually fully kick in, it's like, okay, that's where I wanted it to. Like, there's a moment where I'm like, okay, yes, it did like actually release and like go where I wanted it to go.
Yes, no, the original song it's just the same sort of low energy level the whole time. This is low energy in the beginning with a slight build up in tension, and then it just rocks out and it gives you all like the heavy guitar, the supporting. Like I said, her vocal delivering the same lyrics is just so much more powerful. And then with the guitars underneath, the song hits me so much harder than when Blonde Redhead did it.
Yeah, and then there's the sick trumpet solo.
Yes, okay. So yeah, like the original song definitely didn't have a sick trumpet solo. But this section, it's funny, we were looking at the liner notes, and it just says like, so the main credits go to all the members of the band, you know, guitars, singing, whatever. And then if you look like deeper, it says like, oh yeah, and this guy recorded trumpets in like somewhere in New York. And it's like, what? And this section has this huge Spanish brass sound, I would say.
And it's a pretty long solo.
Oh, yeah.
It's maybe like a minute long.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, they increased the song's length by 30 seconds, and so it must be that. And so it's just awesome and powerful and full of, like, emotion.
Yeah, and then it has a weird key change halfway through.
Yeah, the trumpet has a key change.
Confused me.
Well, this whole song has like 4 key changes in it overall.
Yeah.
But they're just really short. They're like key changes that go up, and then they go back down, and then they continue back into the rest of the song.
Yeah, which I kind of was bothered by. I'm like, you don't need all these weird key shifting things.
It's prog. Okay, even in a cover, you gotta do weird business.
I don't understand prog music.
No, but it's wonderful. I loved how that trumpet section added. In fact, I love everything that they added to this song.
Basically all the changes that they made, I think, were positive changes.
Absolutely. Because, to be frank, I don't really like Blonde Redhead that much, and I didn't like that song very much. You know, all you Blonde Redhead fans out there, I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
I really hope you do. I'm glad you do. But it just wasn't for us. So, overall, speaking of what our favorite things are, let's discuss what the best song you thought from this EP was.
Oh, that's kind of hard. I think it's Never Trust a Cuckold or Elder Spencer Deary.
See, for me, it was definitely Never Trust a Cuckold. It was how wonderfully singable that chorus was, how it was super groovy. I described it, we mentioned earlier, but to me it sounded very much like something Evanescence would do if Evanescence was kind of like a proggy, rocky sort of group. And, you know, it felt so good.
No, I liked that a lot. Like, is definitely the chorus of that was the best, like,
piece of music, personally.
Of the album. Like, this chorus or the chorus in the song before it. Were really good.
Yeah. I will say that I think the worst, now, normally on EPs we don't necessarily do the worst, but I didn't like Bad Weeds Never Die, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Bad Weeds Never Die. El bien mala nunca muere. No, I didn't like that very much because it was too all over the place to me.
I liked that song, but yeah, I can kind of agree that, like, we made a joke earlier that prog music was invented by people with ADHD because it's just kind of all over the place, and there's a lot of, like, sometimes you get a riff and you're like, oh, that riff is really good, and then 5 seconds later it's gone.
Yeah, no, and I can appreciate that. Like I said, I mentioned during this that there's a lot of times in this where I can hear shades of Mastodon's sort of, you know, sort of Blood Mountain-y sort of sound, and I really appreciate it, and I really like where Husbandry is going. I really like this. I haven't listened to their older stuff, but that being said, I would go back and listen to their older stuff.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed this, despite being kind of irritated sometimes at, like, riffs disappearing too quickly, but I in general really liked it. Yeah,
so definitely gonna go listen to Farah, and I think it's called, like, Make Room for Water or something like that is their first EP. Yeah, and I definitely like this EP. It was pretty good. I would give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree. It's quite good.
Yeah, it was interesting to see a proggy sort of rocky band do a cover of a very relatively simple song. And I thought all the changes they did vastly improved it. So it was just really great.
Yeah, good artistry here.
Yeah, speaking of artistry, it came, like I said, with a 120-page art book that we, unfortunately, didn't get to see. But I would totally love to see that now. If this band thinks it's artistically cool, then I'd like to see it. I'd like to see where their art is.
Yeah, I'm sure it's interesting.
So that being said, this is a good album. Would you recommend it to others?
Yeah, probably. It's an interesting listen. Like, I'd even recommend it to people who are just into alt-rock.
Oh, yeah. This definitely is, like, alt-rock plus complexity. That's how I feel about this.
And some heaviness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, in the end, everybody's a critic, including us. Bye-bye.